guys, I'm Aussie Villain, and welcome to the seat swap. So something a little bit different. We've put Max Verstappen in a Williams. Logan Sargeant has taken his spot in Red Bull, and we're going to see how things work out over the course of a season. Now, of course, this is the great qualifying battle as well, isn't it? Sargeant versus Perez. Now, obviously, Sargeant has lost his seat at Williams. He's lost his seat in Formula One. So I for one, think I was expecting more for him in, when he got to Formula One. I thought he did very well, especially in F3 against Piastri, where arguably should have won that championship. So we're going to see how things play out here. Now, the basic concept here, and if you're enjoying this, or if you think you're going to enjoy it, and you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, let me know in the comments how you think this is going to play out. We are managing Williams with Verstappen and Albon, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and give Verstappen the best car that we can, try and improve the car as best we can, but ultimately it's going to be down to whether Verstappen can beat Sargeant in a seat swap. And we're going to find out. So we've got a couple of days here a couple of weeks until the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I will go and see what I can do to help Verstappen out for that one, and then we'll come back for qualifying. Okay, so with just 11 days until the race, we haven't been able to get anything new on the car. We're designing new chassis, underfloor, and side pods. This is just basically to take weight out of the car. It'll improve, obviously, performance a little bit, but that's not going to be around for the first few races. So let's go off to Bahrain here. Is 10th too much to ask for Verstappen? I wouldn't have thought so. We've got the 15th ranking car on the grid, and let's go, say, 16th with Albon, and off we go. Alright, so we've had qualifying. Verstappen and Albon were both eliminated in Q2. Logan Sargeant qualified 7th, with Perez in 2nd. So not that much between them, 0.4 of a second or so. So let's see what happens in the race. So Logan Sargeant brought home some points in 6th. And then if we go down, Verstappen was 12th, a lap down ahead of Albon. But first blood goes to Logan Sargeant, perhaps unsurprisingly, in the Red Bull. But next up, it is... what is next up? It's Saudi Arabia, isn't it? So, no new parts on the car, and, well, not great. Verstappen only just getting into Q2. Albon has out-qualified him here, so 1-1 in the qualifying there. Whereas Sargeant up there in 5th, with Perez in 3rd. But look at the gap between them. It's essentially nothing. So, Sargeant really loving life at Red Bull. Let's see how the race plays out, though. And let's have a look here. I don't see anybody in the top 10. So, what has happened here? Sargeant down 7 to 12th. Verstappen was 14th and Albon was 16th. So, yeah, not a good race for anybody, that one. All right, so to Australia. All right, so to head off to Australia, we're still manufacturing our first lot of updates. There's none for the cars for this one, but we are now also designing front wing, rear wing suspension. Again, just taking all the weight out and obviously improving performance a little bit elsewhere. One thing we do have, though, is a fault on Max Verstappen's engine. So, excellent. That's just what we needed, wasn't it? All right, to Melbourne. And Melbourne qualifying, not great either. Albon didn't get out of Q1. Verstappen did, but only just. And then if we go and look for Logan Sargeant, he is sitting up there in 3rd with Perez on pole. So Sargeant is doing pretty good in a Red Bull, isn't he? You have to say. Let's see how this race plays out, though. So, Logan Sargeant down 7 to 10th. Just the 1 point for him here, which means we haven't scored any points with Williams. It's 13th and 14th. So, Albon has come across and beaten Verstappen, who just stayed 14th throughout the race. So, yeah. Okay, so we're about to head off to Japan, and for this one, we do have upgrades on Verstappen's car. He has the new chassis, he has the new side pods, and he has the new underfloor. So let's see if that helps him move up the grid here at all. So a wet qualifying session, and it helped a little bit. Both cars out of Q1 into Q2. Verstappen 11th, only just falling short of getting into the qualifying 3, and Sargeant right there next to Perez on the 3rd row of the grid. So let's see. It's going to be a dry race, but let's see what everybody can do there. And let's have a look. Sargeant is up 1 to 5th. He has beaten. He's beaten Perez, who is nowhere to be seen. Oh, and Verstappen was 11th, so the upgrades did make a difference. And Perez, what has happened there? 18th for him. He's behind both the Williams. All right, next up, it is sprint time, isn't it? It is China. Alright, so we've had no new parts on Verstappen's car. We did put new parts, or the upgraded parts on Albon's car, and he got to SQ3. So he's qualified 10th, Verstappen 12th, and we've got Sargeant up there again, right there, although 4/10 off of Perez. So the sprint race, let's see how that plays out. And Verstappen a top 10, but no points, obviously, in the sprint. Sargeant ahead of Perez. So it's not really much of a contest yet between Verstappen and Sargeant, and maybe that is fair enough given the cars they're in. But I tell you what, Sargeant is coming good against Perez, isn't he? So we've got proper qualifying now, and it's not gone quite so well. Both cars out in Q2, Verstappen just behind Hamilton in P12, and Logan Sargeant 6th with Perez in 3rd. Let's see how the Grand Prix plays out. And it is double points for Williams. So Verstappen off the mark with 2 points. Albon with a single point as well. Very, very nicely done. Perez has won the race. Sargeant in 4th. And yeah, well, progress has definitely been made here. Next up, it is Miami and another sprint weekend. Right, so we're heading off to Miami, and Verstappen has a new front wing, new rear wing, and the new suspension as well. So we can see it's moving him even further up the grid now. He could be ready to challenge Logan Sargeant. Alright, so off for sprint qualifying, maybe not quite yet. Verstappen 11th, Albon got through into Q3 in 10th, and yeah, Sargeant is there in 7th. So not a mile away, we are definitely closing this gap, aren't we? And Perez on pole, so that's a little bit more of a gap to go to him. Let's see how the sprint race plays out. Oh, and the sprint race is just short for Max Verstappen, 1.3 seconds short of a point. He moves up 2 into 9th, Sargeant is 7th. And if we go down, we have got Albon dropping down into 15th, so down 5 for him, which is a little bit of a shame. Qualifying proper, though. Let's see what we can do there. And for the first time, it is Max Verstappen into Q3. Albon this time was 11th, Verstappen 10th, and Sargeant 6th, while Perez sits himself on pole. So let's see if Verstappen can score some more points here. Whoa, Max Verstappen 7th, only 8 seconds behind Sargeant. The gap is very definitely closing, isn't it? So very, very nice day out there. And Albon in 12th, unfortunately for him. So yeah, but he didn't have all the extra upgraded bits that Verstappen had. But there we go. That is the closest that we've seen Max to Sargeant at the end of a race. So let's see if he can maybe go and beat him now. The next one is what's after this one? It's Imola, I think, isn't it? So Imola qualifying, not particularly going to plan. I thought we might be a chance of Q3 here, but it looks like it is, what's that, 13th and 14th for us in this one. Albon ahead of Verstappen by a little bit, and Logan Sargeant in the middle of the top 10 there in 5th. Perez, once again, is on pole for this one. Oh, but the race is much, much nicer for Verstappen. He is 8th. Look at that, 3/10 off of Alonso, but losing out again to Sargeant, who's 5th, and Perez down 2 to 3rd. And Albon, for what that's worth, he was in 12th for this one. Piastri, a little bit dropping away there as well. So next up, it is Monaco. Alright, so we're getting ready to head off to Monaco. We've got a rear wing that is being designed that is not quite there yet. We've also got a new underfloor. Now, this is one that we're looking to actually improve the performance, not just in terms of taking the weight out, but also sort of developing the car in a direction which is for particularly high and medium speed corners, which won't necessarily help us at Monaco. But I tell you what, I want a refund on these engines. Look at this. Verstappen, he's got a second engine now with a fault. So that is... I mean, is that bad luck? I don't know what that is. It's a disaster, though. All right, so to Monaco, it could be an okay race for us. And qualifying has gone well for Verstappen inside the top 10 in 9th. Sargeant again in 5th, which is just where he seems to be living. Perez once again on pole. And Alexander Albon in 12th. So not too bad. Now, it's going to be a wet race. Well, Verstappen's good in the wet, isn't he? Could this be a big chance for him to score big points? Oh, and it is 4th for Verstappen, a lap down. Perez has won by a lap. I mean, that is impressive. But Tsunoda 2nd. This is a crazy, crazy Monaco race. Albon is there in 8th. 2 laps down. Both Williams have beaten Sargeant. Sargeant 2 laps behind his teammate. That is not going to go down well, is it? But what a messed up, crazy race this one must have been. This guy's 5 laps down. That is incredible. But this brings us to basically to the end of part one. We can see Perez is leading the championship ahead of Sainz and Leclerc, and Norris still in touch as well. A little bit of a drop off then back to everybody else. But if I do just move myself maybe to a little bit better spot, Verstappen with that result moves into the top 10 of the championship. Sargeant is currently 7th. I tell you what, could he do it? Could he end up getting ahead of Logan Sargeant in a Williams? And then we've got Albon, he's got 4 points. And yes, and you can see everybody else there who is scoreless so far. And in the constructors, Ferrari leads the way ahead of McLaren and Red Bull. Definitely, you take Verstappen out of Red Bull and it's not the same, is it? While Williams, very, very nicely done, is in 6th. So we'll have that. That's excellent. Now, if you've enjoyed this part one, make sure you hit thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Leave me the comments. Yeah, it is good for the algorithm to help everybody sort of find the series. So yeah, let me know how you think things are going to end up. Are you surprised with how it's gone so far? Are we going to end up getting Verstappen ahead of Logan Sargeant in the championship by the end of the season if we keep developing the car? I think there's a very decent chance that we might. And we'll be back next time for the next 8 races in the season. And at that point, we should have a really good idea how this thing might play out. So I hope you've enjoyed part one of the seat swap, and I'll see you next time. Take care.